Welcome back to AIT 2702 for our final project summary video number 2. So far we've talked about putting, we called a program, we set up our program first, we gave it a title, okay, and then we called another program and sort of nested it into our program so it would execute a home position for us, okay, and then we put in that first line of instructions so where it would kind of go over the top of a wire nut. Okay, so right now in your imagination, if you will, the wire nut's sitting about right here, and we have gone from home position to kind of an air point right there, an air move right there, so just kind of hovering over the top of it, and we've come to a standstill. Okay, we're stopped. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, here's our line of programs that's doing just what I said. The next thing we want to do, it's common practice. Some companies do it, some folks don't. The idea of when you're running automation, and robotics is part of that automation, you want to be as fast and productive as you possibly can. But there are sometimes there are calls to put a slight, maybe quarter second, half second delay in your motion. Okay, and we're doing it in our project because I just want to show you how it's done. Okay, the project is not a speed race or anything like that. It's just the time is not real critical. But I'm going to show you how it's done. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our instruction above F1, and we're going to pull up our instruction menu, and it'll pull up this host of menus over here, these sub-menus, and we want to arrow down until we get to number 4 that says wait, W-A-I-T, wait, okay? And we want to hit enter, and then this other sub-menu is going to come up, and this gives us all the different delay options that we can possibly use in our routine. All right, now we've got here, this one on the top is the one we want to use. It's going to wait for X number of seconds. We're going to tell it how many seconds. But in some cases, we may want one value in a register to equal another value in another register, before, and then wait till they are equal, or they're not equal, or greater than or less than equal. So it can evaluate a couple of different numbers and start that timer. Okay, but we're going to just set the timer in its simplest mode with seconds. Okay, so we're going to hit enter. Okay, and then it pops up here, and it will have a black box right here, and I put in 0.5, a half a second. Okay, so I went down there to my keyboard on the pendant, typed in or punched in 0.5 for half a second, hit enter, and this is what happens. Okay, so this is a little bit different program, but just to show you, we went to position 1, and then we waited a half a second. Okay, so now we're waiting for the next set of instructions. Okay, there it is right there. After we've hit enter, it shows up in our instructions for waiting a half a second. Okay, now what I would recommend you do, you don't have to do this, but what I would recommend you do is I would like for you, actually I am going to recommend you, I'm going to have you do this part of it. So when you get over the top of your hover point, your air point, wait for a half a second, okay, and then you want to go down, and your clamps are going to be open. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second, and wait for another maybe quarter second, 0.25, before you actually clamp up and then start moving forward in your routine. Okay, so basically, again, we're going to come from our home position, go to our air point, which is hovering over that wire nut, wait half a second, and then go to your next move, which would be to go straight down, pick up the wire nut, and we'll clamp it, pick it up, and move it to the inside of that plate that I showed you in the previous video. Okay, so in order for us to be able to get that gripper to open or pick it up, we're going to have to get it to open and close. And I'm going to talk to you about that right now with the gripper control instructions. Okay, now what we want to do too is go here to instructions again above F1. Okay, and it will open up the same host of menus that we did for our wait command for our timer. Okay, however, this time we want to arrow down till we get to I/O. I/O stands for input output. Okay, now we want to select that, and there are different types of outputs that robot can give you. Okay, the output signals could fire something remotely, a peripheral device or something like that. It could tell the PLC that it wants an output fired. Okay, but the robot itself has 8 different outputs built into the control cabinet. It came from the factory that way. It's got 8 outputs, and it's got 8 inputs as well, or ports for inputs. And so it's got 8 ports for outputs built in. So, but we want to select the RO, robot output. Now I went over this in one of the previous lessons, okay? But we want to select robot output, okay? And that happens to be selection number 3. So arrow down, hit enter, okay? And it's going to pop up, and we want to select robot output number 3, because number 3 is wired to the solenoid that opens and closes the gripper. Okay, I know this. I'm conveying it to you. There's no formula or anything behind this. I just know that the gripper is wired to the number 3 output on the robot itself. Okay, so we're going to select that number. At this point, we've got our position. We waited a half a second, and now we're wanting to open the gripper. And so, in order to open it up, that's actually, we turn it on, and the gripper opens. Normally, you think about turning the gripper on and it closes, but in this case, the gripper opens when we turn it on. So we hit enter, okay, and then it's waiting for us to tell it to turn it on or turn it off. We won't worry about the rest of the options in the menu for right now, but what we want to do is we want to turn that gripper off so that it's open, because you're fixing to go down on that wire nut, and that's the next step in our program. It's fixing to go down on that wire nut, so we got to make sure it's open and not closed or jam the wire nut. Makes common sense, okay? So just hit on and hit enter, and boom, there's your instructions for your third line of instructions. So position 1, we're going to wait a half a second, we're going to open that clamp, and now we're going to move down over the wire nut, okay? So that's our next position. Maybe wait a quarter second. I'm not going to tell you to do this again, how to do this again, because I've shown you the instructions. You can do this yourself now. Okay, so you're going to drop down. Okay, and now we got to close that gripper up. Okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to go back to our instructions. We're going to pull up the I/O, like I said before, and we're going to pick up the robot output number 3, and this time we're going to turn it off. Okay, so that it clamps. Again, it sounds a little backwards, at least it does to me. So we're going to clamp it and turn it off. So now, going back over the summary of the program just very briefly, we are hovering over the top of the wire nut. We're going to wait a half a second. We're going to make sure the gripper is open. Then we're going to drop down just about an inch or 2 inches, depending on how high your hover is. Okay, and then you're going to wait another half a second, and then you're going to clamp the wire nut. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to make a recommendation to you. At this point, this is our hover point. Okay, I'm sorry, this is our hover point right here. Position number 1 was our hover point. All right, and we went down over the wire nut to position 2. Well, it's a common practice that once you go down over something, you come back up to the same position. So you can reuse position number 1. Okay, you can enter the line the same way you did, and then you can arrow over to the 1, or actually it'll be the third line. It'll do it in sequential order, and you can change that position number 3 to position 1, and it'll go right back over to the hover position. So you can reuse points. You don't have to make a new point for every one. You do have to make a new line of instruction, but you can reuse the points, and it makes for a very clean operation. Okay, because the chances of you getting that hover point exactly where it was the first time, probably not going to. You're not going to be able to do it by manipulating that controller. So you can reuse it, and it'll go exactly to that point right there. Only it'll be down here in this line of logic. Okay. All right. So I want to shut the video off for right now. I've got one more video, and that's to show you how to manually open and close the gripper, because you may need to do that throughout the program. Okay, or throughout your while you are programming it. So for right now, let's shut her off. Again, if you've got questions, come see me. I hope you're taking notes for this. All right, and we'll see you for the third video. Thank you.